Major O'Donnell with the FBI. All I want to do is talk to you about a post that was made, and if you happen to be the one that made the post.
I want to talk to you about you guys coming here. Say you make a salary of, I don't know what, low 100K? You guys making six figures? Factor in 50% expenses, overhead, maybe 100% expenses. Talking about burning a couple $100 an hour just here, let alone all the time you guys are spending to investigate something that you know is not against the law, right? Like so you're familiar with. So then why would you come?
Because we wanted to make sure that there weren't any.
No, you're coming because you're part of a regime that does this kind of thing when you know laws aren't being broken, and that's an embarrassment, man. Didn't you guys read the Constitution? Do you not believe in America? So like, how do you do your jobs and go home?
We appreciate it.
You're walking away because nothing we did is against the law, and you guys are heads that try to act like bullies.
I think the kind of takeover of the institutions highlights a larger credibility for the argument that you're making here, because if you go to a lot of these top universities, a lot of these people are thought, hey, these people are crazy, they're bad, they need to be stopped, they're a threat against democracy. And then having the corporate media regurgitate that has these people living in kind of this delusional, hyper-paranoid fear state where they actually do see free speech as a threat against democracy, which is absolutely an insane statement, and it's absolutely nonsensical. But if a lie is big enough and you keep repeating it, it does seem to integrate into a lot of these people, and the way that they are kind of brought up in these larger systems and these larger institutions does create a lot of these really kind of paranoid, angry individuals that do see you as an enemy of the state because you dare to express political opinions. Which is,
and they've pushed out, as you're saying, that there's been this sort of evaporative effect where whoever was the farthest away from leftist authoritarianism has been continuing to bubble off and get pushed out of these institutions to the point that, you know, at prominent universities, it's 90 to 95%, you know, center left or leftists, no one on the right. Same at the big tech companies and so on. Now, the big countervailing force now is we have Elon. Elon went all the way. He didn't just dip his toe in. He went all the way. He's staking his entire reputation on the fact that, hey, if there needs to be space for... I don't even believe that Elon is as right-wing as he's presenting. I think he sees there as being this necessity for right-wing opinions, and he's chosen to go very far out there. And I've seen this. I've talked to Silicon Valley founders, people that are nowhere near as big as Elon, but these guys might employ 100 people or something like that. And they've specifically said, you know, if Elon hadn't done this, I wouldn't have been able to come out and talk openly about these things. And so one person who's very prominent standing up and being all the way out there has created space for all of these other people. And it's sort of now we're finally seeing a countervailing force to this leftist authoritarian incentive power structure thing.
Yeah, we're seeing a kind of balancing act being played out here. And Elon Musk, you know, historically in the past was very liberal, very leftist. Still is in a way, especially when it comes to, you know, all the carbon credits he gets for his Tesla cars and all the other kind of large government contracts that he gets as well here. But what you mentioned here, I think is also crucial to understand here, because if it wasn't for Elon, we would be in absolute major trouble as a country. And having this counterbalance is absolutely critically important, because if the balance shifts, it becomes extremely dangerous for the party that's not in power. It becomes extremely dangerous for the kind of minority in this larger kind of political institutions. And the left very brilliantly, slowly and surely took over the cultural institutions and then the political institutions. And the way that they're able to wield power covertly through psychological warfare as well, I would even argue mind control in many different ways, but subliminally as well, has been extremely effective at pushing through their larger kind of Marxist, cultural, communistic agenda out there that is slowly encompassing our lives without our kind of acquiescence, without our kind of consent. So it's like a slow burn. It's like we're in this pot and we're finally seeing the bubbles rise up to the top. And I'm like, holy cow, it's getting hot here. And I think Elon Musk has very representatively kind of toned down the temperature a little bit. And I think what we're seeing right now from the corporate media is they're trying to rise that temperature as high as they can, especially with their very kind of aggressive language and rhetoric towards Donald Trump supporters today.
I think Elon is like many of us. I think he's like a classical liberal. I think that, the sides have flipped. And when I was a kid, the Republican Party was pro-war, was pro-censorship. Now I feel like it's completely flipped. And you see this unity party come in, where I don't consider Trump a hardcore Republican. He's more of like would you consider a centrist, And you see this happening, and you just see like people. I voted for Obama. I campaigned for Obama. Now I'm like, okay, well, I'm anti-war. I'm anti-censorship, and I feel like a lot of those people are coming over like Elon to the other side.
Yeah, well, there's that classic Dune quote, like, when I'm weaker than you, I appeal to free speech. Well, it's not free speech, but it's whatever. When I'm weaker than you, I appeal to free speech because it's in my interest. When I'm in power, when I'm more powerful than you, I'm screwing up the quote. But there's this. I think it flips. Like honestly, if the Republicans had power over the same degree of institutions that the Democrats did, I think the Democrats would be the party of free speech again. And I think the Republicans would use their institutional power to not be as good on free speech. And I'm not trying to drag Trump. I'm clearly voting for Trump. But Trump's talking about let's jail people for burning the American flag and so on. Like, he clearly does have some of these impulses, but because the right is out of power, they're on the side of free speech, at least currently. So I wouldn't expect that to last over time. If you're someone who does care about free speech and the competition of ideas, my guess is that the minority party, the minority faction, is going to be the party that's more likely to support those things.
Yeah, I think Zach Levi, I don't know if you saw the video, the actor, pretty big actor, I'm voting for Robert Kennedy. I'm voting for having Elon. I'm voting for having Vivek. I'm voting for having Bobby. Like, this is like unprecedented. I've never seen a Republican candidate have all these people, amazing people around him. I think Trump learned the first time having these neocons, these people around him, even though I don't agree with him with the Mike Pompeo thing. I don't, hopefully, Bobby and him have a disagreement there, and I stand with Bobby on that. I don't think we should have these neocons in there. I think we should clear it out, drain the swamp is I think the proper thing to do. He didn't do it the first time. Hopefully he does it this time.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like, the right has had a sort of human capital problem, and hopefully that some of the tech people, the Elon people, the Vivek people, even Vance, I think, bring a lot of high ability, and I'm hoping that we can see a much better administration because of this.
I was going to ask you, because supporting Donald Trump has been something that the Libertarians always have this kind of larger internal conflict about. Can you tell us about your kind of... So you are supporting Donald Trump. You will be voting for Donald Trump. Is that correct?
I will be voting for Donald Trump, although I actually voted for Donald Trump in 2020 as well. Mm-hmm. And that's because I'm not interested in support. And it was specifically over Joe Jorgensen, Black Lives Matter, anti-racism stuff. Like, to me, and this to me is this idea that libertarians are separate from left and right is entirely false. You can look at the fights inside of the libertarian movement going back the entire existence of it, going back 5 decades or 6 decades, and almost all of the fights map onto what's effectively a left-right dichotomy. And so left-right, as I see it, is fundamentally about how egalitarian you are versus how comfortable are you with differences between people, as well as what's your moral orientation of concern. The more right-wing you get, the more you say my orientation of concern is local. I care about my family, my community. I don't care what happens in China. I don't care what happens in places around the world. And the more left-wing you get, you're like, well, bacteria is alive too. So, should we really be, all life matters and this kind of thing. And I think these factors are very real in us. And I'm not going to back libertarians who want to advance leftism, and so the whole all of BLM, all of the woke stuff is clearly on the left. And if a libertarian is going to try to advance libertarianism from the left, I'm just not interested.
Yeah. It's cultural Marxism, which is exactly what it is. It's a larger ploy against the family unit, against religion. Black Lives Matter even openly declared it on their own website until they got criticized of it, and then they deleted it there. But it was very kind of indicative to kind of see this kind of internal pressure that started cracking under kind of BLM. Because usually, there was a couple libertarians, we're all kind of hanging out here, but I think the division within the party really did start under BLM. You're more in tune with this kind of libertarian party with the Free State Project, with everything that's happening up in New Hampshire. So just also for pure transparency, you voted for Trump in 2020. I voted for Trump in 2016.
I did. I voted for Johnson in 2016,
Yeah.
It changed me. If you asked me in a decade ago, I probably would have told you like libertarians are neither left nor right. I
No.
would have been someone who was saying that kind of thing.
No.
What about these people that are voting?
I saw Hillary Clinton, and I knew how absolutely horrible Hillary Clinton was and the larger possibility of our presidency. And I was like, there's no way. And I saw Donald Trump literally talk about investigating the events in New York City after 2001. I saw him point the finger at the Bushes, at the Saudis. I saw him talking about auditing and ending the U.S. Federal Reserve banking system in 2016. And I'm like, that's why I'm voting for him. 2020, I voted for him as well. It was a little bit more difficult, but I saw the options. Biden essentially means a destruction of our economy, or Donald Trump, a continuation of these larger kind of health policies that I really wasn't in line with. But at least there was kind of institutional pushback against it by the leftists that really didn't like it until Biden came in. Then they told everyone that they needed to take it or else they'll end up discriminated against. This year, I'm going to be voting for Donald Trump as well. But what has been your mindset? Because I think it's important to kind of break through the thought process, the kind of considerations here. What was the moment that in this election cycle that made you go, yeah, that's the reason I'm going to be voting for Donald Trump?
Well, it was that the Libertarian Party nominated the most left-wing libertarian possible. I mean, this is a guy who can't talk about gun rights without saying it's for trans people and black people. Like every single thing he approaches is through this leftist lens. He believes every left-wing hoax. He still believes, Matthew Shepard was killed because he was gay. He will support absolutely horrible murderers and say that they're innocent when the evidence is very clear that they're guilty. And this is that sort of that he is the kind of attitude. He wants to drag everything down in the dirt. He doesn't celebrate human accomplishment, humans building things, humans achieving things. And that is what attracted me to libertarianism, is this idea that unleashing human ability, free markets allow humans to be innovative and invent things. And I like the idea of human progress. I think it's awesome that we're having this conversation over the internet out of this kind of studio, and this involved an incredible amount of people working together under free markets to invent all of these things. And you're competing in the free market here. The free market, there's a free market for influence and for who is getting listened to. And I think these kinds of things allow the best to rise to the top. That's always what attracted me to the ideas of liberty and libertarianism. But obviously there's also this class of libertarian that's like, well, I want to be a libertarian so that, people can do heroin and I can be a prostitute and these kinds of things. And like, I'm not, I do kind of still accept the libertarian arguments about like you own yourself and you get to make your own choices. But I think that a lot of these choices are terrible choices. I'm not interested in saying, sex work is real work or any of this stuff. It's terrible stuff. And the memes there they're bad. They're unhealthy. It doesn't mean I necessarily want to have an authoritarian government controlling these things, but this idea that they're supposed to be celebrated, I think is really sick. And it's clear that there are some libertarians who, go down that path, and that's what attracts them to liberty. They think it allows them to live very libertine, permissive lives. And that's not, my intent at all.
Yeah.
We had a guy last night who called in and he was like, I'm voting for Chase. So like, what do you tell these people? Because I mean, you hear the discussion with Rogan and Trump. Trump's like, I want to abolish the income tax. That's pretty libertarian.
Look, there's plenty of libertarian criticisms of Trump that would be wholly correct. I've made them, okay? The point is, if you're going to back the libertarian, it has to be someone that you want to be growing the libertarian movement in a way that you want. And Chase Oliver brings the worst kind of libertarian into the Libertarian Party. The type of person that, that finds him appealing is generally the worst kind of libertarian. And so if you're going to vote, I generally think that third parties are kind of worthless. I'm more in the Libertarian Party because I care about the word libertarian, and the Libertarian Party has outsized influence on how this word is conceived of, and I don't want to give up on that word because I think it's still the best word to describe what I fundamentally believe. But if you're going to believe in third parties in the abstract, your third party candidate is the guy who is out there growing your coalition. So who he's recruiting and who he's appealing to is very important. And so if you're going to back a third party candidate, you have to say that this is the kind of person who is bringing the right kind of person into my movement and into my group, right? Politics is about more than policy. Politics is about culture and all of these other aspects of the person themselves. I mean, this is actually why I find Trump appealing, because even though I think Trump can be bad policy-wise, directionally in terms of like Trump is actually someone who does appreciate excellence. He does appreciate achievement. So even if I disagree with him on policy, he's culturally bringing the country in a good direction. Same thing with Elon and Vivek and all of these people, right? Elon is offering people this transcendent vision of let's get to Mars, let's achieve impressive things. And this is, I think, so much more healthier than the kind of versus a Chase Oliver who's saying, well, let's just be more permissive and let's be non-judgmental and let's talk about how sex work is work and murderers aren't such bad people. And like this is, I find it just so disgusting and so reprehensible. And anyone who finds this kind of approach compelling, I don't want them wearing the word libertarian.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do say that I don't think we've ever had people. I just saw a tweet from Elon saying he wants to get rid of the Federal Reserve. When you hear this dialogue and you hear the income tax thing, we've never seen that in any major political party before. So I think you got to be crazy not to at least give it a chance. And the other side is just complete establishment. They've been in office 12 of the last 16 years. What have they done? I mean, I think you have to realize this is a special time to vote for the Trump administration.
And I think what Angela McArdle has done, and some others have done with the Libertarian Party, is the best thing that you possibly can do. If you're perceived of as this 3 to 5% block that can be the deciding factor, then you get pandered to a lot. And I see this happen in New Hampshire. Free staters get pandered to by the Republicans to make sure, because we mostly vote Republican, and I'll be voting straight Republican this November, but certainly if the Republican is bad enough, we won't always support them, but that actually means you get more because the person who's always going to vote Republican doesn't need to be pandered to, whereas the group that will maybe vote Republican actually can get pandered to quite a lot. And so if the Libertarians can position themselves via the Libertarian Party as being this block that can be panderable to, that can be this deciding force, then you'll see more of our ideas getting picked up because the politicians will see us as the potential deciding factor in the election.
Yeah, I think the Libertarians will be deciding the 2024 election, and Donald Trump understands that. And from private conversations that I know he has had, he has been telling people, I need the Libertarian vote if I'm going to win this. Donald Trump understands this. Some people say he's kind of pandering, but he's also just giving us, I think, more attention than the Libertarian Party has ever had. I think the Libertarian Party hasn't been as important as it is now, and there are different factions of it, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think overwhelmingly Libertarians this year will be voting for Donald J. Trump. Do you think that's an accurate statement or no?
I think that's 100% correct. I think that I think Chase is going to get under 1% of the vote, and in any kind of exit poll of Libertarians, I would bet that it's going to be 70+% for Trump.
Yeah.
And New Hampshire is a swing state now.
New Hampshire is a swing state, and we see this here. So, like, we've done this strategy in New Hampshire. There's actually the woman running for governor this year in New Hampshire, Kelly Ayotte. She's not the most libertarian, but she will help the libertarian agenda get through if she's elected, and I'm going to be voting for her. And 8 years ago, she actually lost a very close election for Senate due to a libertarian challenger. And she has gone out of her way to court the libertarians. She went out of her way to be nice to me. She put another free stater in one of her commercials. The whole commercial is this free stater named Brittany Ping. She's a Moms for Liberty woman in New Hampshire. And the Democrat had a press conference about how Kelly Ayotte is welcoming far-right libertarian extremists to New Hampshire, and Kelly Ayotte tripled the ad buy in response to this press conference that was held by the Democratic governor candidate. And so, they know that they can't win without us, and they need to make sure that we're on their side, or they're not going to win. And there's a lot of power that comes from that.
That's incredible. I'm really looking forward to it. When I saw that, I was like, New Hampshire usually goes blue.
Yeah, we'll see. So New Hampshire has the highest portion of like genuine independents. So genuine independents are people who actually split their tickets. Like a lot of independents just vote Democrat or vote Republican. Like New Hampshire did go blue for president in 2020 while electing a Republican governor with 70% of the vote and electing a Republican, entirely Republican state government. So Republicans control all the branches of the state government in New Hampshire, and they still voted for Biden. And Trump is still sort of uniquely disliked among some of this independent class in New Hampshire. I think they see him as mean or cruel or disruptive. I'm not saying this is accurate. I'm just saying that's how they see him. And I do wonder, I think New Hampshire will probably be a toss-up. this year for president, but I think we will have a Republican state government up and down.
Even with Bobby coming in, making America healthy again. I mean, I feel like, when he brings these ex-Democrats in, doesn't that kind of maybe make these people...
Look, I would love to be like New Hampshire's going red no matter what. My read of the data is that it's going to be kind of genuinely close. I would love New Hampshire to go red. We would be the only red state in the Northeast. And again, this is what's so positive, is when you have this positive selection effect, then everything can continue to accelerate. And so if we're continuing to drain people from nearby states into New Hampshire, then New Hampshire gets better, nearby states get worse, and that whole thing continues to accelerate.
Yeah, you guys are surrounded by a lot of massholes and a lot of really bad people out there from New York and Massachusetts and Connecticut and Maine. It's like, man, I mean, I lived up there, and I genuinely think the Free State people are some of the greatest people on earth. I really like them. There's obviously a lot of infighting, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of insanity, but I think the people of New Hampshire, just generally speaking, are very awesome people, whether they're a part of the Free State Project or not. I really like that kind of gritty, rugged nature, loving individuals that are just kind of living out there in the wild, and that's a perfect representation of New Hampshire, the live free or die state.
Yeah, and I wouldn't dispute that there are a lot of bad politics in the Northeast, but there's still a lot of good people in each of those states, and so good people from Massachusetts are the ones moving to New Hampshire, and good people from New York are the ones moving to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is just this last year was one of 2 states to have a net migration rate of over 2% of people with children. The only other state was Idaho. And I can tell you, people with families vote Republican far more than they vote Democrat. And so we're seeing this kind of positive selection effect where people are saying, I don't want to raise my kids in Massachusetts, I don't want to raise my kids in New York, and I do want to raise them in New Hampshire. And so the more that kind of thing, I think we're having a really nice dynamic where it's actually good people who are moving into New Hampshire. I would actually somewhat dispute. I know there's this narrative that it's turning into Massachusetts. I think it's the opposite. I actually think we're getting good people from Massachusetts.
That's incredible. I really wanted to go back to, I think a lot of people want to know about when that famous video online where these guys came to your house. Did you have any idea that you might be approached by any federal agents, or were you caught off guard? Like what?
There had been some discussion in various group chats about whether we were pushing things too far, and but my neighbor actually gave me a heads up that they were outside, so that was why I was able to have my camera out, sort of as they were walking up, because my neighbor said he's one of those guys who's like always watching out, and he has like cameras on his computer and everything, and he told me that they were outside, so I was able to get out there and be ready, so I had 30 seconds or a minute of preparation.
Are there any updates surrounding that particular case? Have they tried to contact you again? And are there any kind of legal repercussions that you're facing?
No, I mean, as I called them out in the video, I'm very aware of my First Amendment rights, and they couldn't even state why they were there. So they knew that they were there, just to perform, a kind of
intimidation,
a kind of shakedown. Yeah, it's just perform intimidation. I'm not the kind of person who is intimidated. I'm the kind of person who is only emboldened. I would suspect that should they come to my house again, they'll send someone better. They probably have there's a note in their file now, that last one.
I mean, in Europe, they're doing this all the time, and that's why America's one of the last places that we're supposed to be protected from this.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's happening, as of course I've been telling people to prepare for a very long time. I just released a video about how to prepare on lukeunfiltered.com, a special secret, not so secret society where you get to join a lot of really cool, awesome people and be a part of the larger conversations that no one else really has. I go deep down the rabbit hole. I talk about my personal decisions. I talk about things that I do in my life that I am using information on in order to, of course, better it. And that's the information that I try to share with you in order to help promote, build, grow, and expand our human consciousness, wealth, prosperity, and liberty. Freedom is in your hands if you decide to act on it in the proper way. And I've built LukeUnfiltered.com, 12 plus years of behind the scenes videos just on that basic model alone of trying to give you the tools, the information, the seed oil cards, the crap list of items you should be avoiding at the supermarket. That's all available for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Signing up is key, it's crucial, and it's more important than ever. Sign up right now, LukeUnfiltered.com. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. You go here, and whatever your budget allows, I know times are hard, but for just $8, 20 cents a day, you could sign up right here, click it, and then you just put in a little bit of information. You get emailed back a login. You log in, and you get a lot of really awesome values that are a lot more valuable than Netflix. You have a choice. You want to do Netflix, or you want to do LukeUnfiltered.com. Make that choice. Vote with your dollars. Vote with your clicks. Start to decide your own life path right now. 3 master classes that will teach you some really incredible skills. Do you want to sit there and be glazed by the satanic, evil, corporatist, demonic propaganda that plays on your subconscious and emotional, psychological weaknesses? Or do you want to be uplifted and, of course, enlightened and given information that a lot of powerful people don't want you to have? That decision is yours, and it starts with you signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. Sign up there right now, and I will see you there right after this broadcast. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com, and because you do, this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on YouTube.com/WeAreChange.